session, that, that, that scared me for a second. I guess I'll start over. So, and thanks so much to Kyauna, Christy, and Joe. You go by Joe, right?
Yes, yes.
Joseph today, since we have another Joseph on the line. Thank you all so much for joining us today. This is an industry I know very little about, so please bear with me. I'm going to ask questions, maybe dumb ones, but I'm going to ask them anyway. And really the goal today is for you to hear a little bit from some IT representatives in St. Louis coming to us from a couple of different vantage points to tell you not only about some opportunities, if this is a career field that you're interested in, but also to learn a little bit about their backgrounds and their path to this point today. So we appreciate their time and their expertise. And as Camille said, if you want to ask a question at any point, please put it in the chat. I mean, I don't know if it's okay if I allow people to like raise their hands via Zoom and I can call on you. I'll do my best, but hopefully we'll have some other questions from the group as well. So with that, I'll go ahead and introduce the panelists. I'm going to read you their bios, so bear with me because I'm going to read it from the page because I do not have your bios memorized. I apologize. But first up, we have Kyauna Campbell, who is known as CyberUp's Level Up coach. And I'm sure she will tell us a little bit more about Level Up, which I do know a little bit about. Prior to joining CyberUp, Kyauna worked as a call center manager, where she assisted in launching 2 work-at-home projects for commercial corporations, including remote IT support for team members. She found a passion for IT as she worked to receive her CompTIA, I'm terrible, ITF certificate as a part of the first set of apprentices. So I will ask more about that later. She also holds a passion for developing people for success as they learn to be their best selves. Outside of the office, you can find Kyauna volunteering with her 2 children as they partake in school sports and activities. Same here. Definitely doing the school sports and the activities these days. So thank you so much, Kyauna. I look forward to hearing a little bit more about your background and then get into some of those specifics. Additionally, we have Christy Miller, who is with Daugherty Business Solutions. Christy grew up in North St. Louis County and was educated at Ferguson-Florissant School District. I guess I shouldn't say high school. I'm only used to working with high schools. So she attended Jackson State University and HBCU and graduated with a bachelor's in corporate communications from Lindenwood University in St. Charles. Christy supports Daugherty's corporate and client operations and serves as the intake and supportive services coordinator for Access Point, an accelerated IT training and employment program for high school aged youth. Really excited to learn more about that. I know that's a new initiative from Daugherty and is very good for some of our summer participants to hear about that might be eligible. Access provides college level skill-based training and paid apprenticeships at Fortune 500 corporate partners. Christy also mentors for former NFL Hall of Famer Anais Williams' Spirit Kids Youth Program. I didn't know that. That's great. Wonderful. Thanks so much for joining us, Christy. And then last but very not least, we have Mr. Joe Eimer with Charter Communications. Joe is the Senior Director of IT ERP Portfolio Management at Charter. He can probably tell you a little bit more about that. He's worked for Charter in the IT department for over 12 years, holding leadership positions in application development and project and program management. Prior to coming to Charter, Joe's career has been focused on application development, system integration, and enterprise and data architecture, which spanned corporate IT, consulting, and technology startups. Joe holds a master's degree in information management from Washington University in St. Louis and a bachelor's degree in business administration, MIS, from the University of Missouri, St. Louis. Thanks for joining us today as well, Joe. So to kick us off, first question for each of you today, and I believe Camille has indicated here you each have 2.5 minutes, and I will not be the one keeping track of your time, but I am certain that she will. If you could tell us a little bit about what your first breakthrough in a tech job, describe the company and how you secured the job, And if you feel so inclined, tell us your feelings and key takeaways about securing that job. And I will just pick at random. Christy, would you like to start?
Of course. Well, my first breakthrough tech career was actually here at Daugherty. I had a non-traditional professional path. I started in nonprofit and then worked in financial services and in education. So this is my first time working in a tech company. And Daugherty is a advisory firm and technology consulting firm. So I found out about Daugherty through a recruiter on LinkedIn. I just happened to be in the market for a new career. So as I learned more about Daugherty, I realized that it was along the same type of career aspirations that I had. You know, it was a company that focuses a lot on development, collaboration, advancement, innovation. So that really drew me to Daugherty. I've been with Daugherty for about 2 years now. I started off supporting three of our key leaders in our client operations and consulting, and kind of grew within the organization to what I'm doing now with Access Point. One of the things that I really love about Access Point in particular is that it's coming full circle. I worked for a nonprofit called Better Family Life for about 10 years. And I did everything from community outreach to life coaching to case management. And this is kind of along the same lines, but it's still teaching the youth to do something that's going to open up doors for their career. And that's really important to me. That's what my passion is. And I love being able to just hold the door open for someone else to receive the same type of opportunities that I've received. So I appreciate that and want to be able to be that person for someone else.
I'm not sure
if I answered all the questions.
That was great. No, that was perfect. I'm going to go a little off.
45 seconds, so you got time.
Okay.
I'm going to go a little off script. Sorry, Camille, but I am. I just want to go back to the point that you made about being found by a recruiter on LinkedIn. So like, tell us are you active on LinkedIn? Were you at the time? Were you interested in making a career change, and how'd that come about?
Absolutely. So one of the good things about having a different type of degree other than, I guess, technology is that I actually have a degree in corporate communications. So one of the things about that, my focus was public relations. So I'm all about a brand. And I believe my own professional brand is my online presence, my, Indeed, LinkedIn, stuff like that. So, and just networking in general. So it's important to me to always have that fresh, always have that updated with my information and current skill set. And I think that's how I was found by the recruiters, just being able to have that information there. And I actually have my own mentors that help me and coach me through that. I think it's important to always have someone that you can rely on that will help coach you and give you good pointers and keep you sharp when it comes to presenting yourself and your brand. So that's kind of where that started from.
Great, thank you. And I ask it as well because we, as LinkedIn is kind of developed as a recruitment tool, in addition to kind of marketing yourself professionally, I always like to hear those success stories because we do, encourage all of our youth in our program to consider building out a LinkedIn profile and provide some resources. So just wanted to, lift that up because I think it's really important because, you never know who's looking at your profile. So thank you for that. And I will try not to indulge too many off script questions, Camille, but it won't be the last that I off script. So Kyauna, would you like to go next and talk? I'll repeat the question since it's been a minute, of what your first breakthrough role in a tech job, kind of key takeaways, feelings, how you got the job. Feel free to embellish because I'm embellishing. So
Sure. My first IT role actually was a little bit like Christy's. It was actually with a call center and in call center management. I started out as a rep, but I got promoted to a management role, and then COVID hit and we all got sent home. So being sent home, we had to set up a lot of work at home, set up phones, set up different people's computers. So that turned into not only just setting up people's homes and setting up people's computers, that turned into remote IT support. So, going into people's computers and literally, just sit back. Let me just remotely take over your computer for you. And that literally is what that turned into. So it wasn't just being a call center manager, where it started as a brick and mortar call center manager walking around, helping people with their phones and with their issues, brick and mortar. That turned into an at-home role of, hey, let me remotely take over your computer and see what viruses are in your computer. Let me turn around and see why your phone is not working. Let me turn around and see it. It literally turned into a remote IT position. I started out with CyberUp as an apprentice with CyberUp and getting the CompTIA IT fundamentals certification helped in that role to become a remote IT support kind of consultant in those roles. So I started out with a work at home Citibank role, managed that. And then when that project closed down, I ended up with Anthem as a work at home role. And both of those included remote IT support. So that's how I ended up in that role. It was a little bit challenging, but I mean, that was probably one of the best. I mean, it's kind of flight or fight. So you have to either incorporate those things that you learned along the way. And that's exactly what I did. So
That's one of the better silver linings of the pandemic stories that I've heard is, kind of making a career change for the better out of in light of what you were dealt with because of COVID. So that's a really interesting change of events. I guess I'll follow up and then ask, will you tell me now what the CompTIA certification?
Oh. CompTIA is a certification company. They issue certifications based upon IT. So the IT fundamentals is the very basic certification that you can get, but they have different levels of certification. And CompTIA is pretty much the gold standard of certification that you can get within IT or cybersecurity. And so CyberUp, we are a company who our apprentices come in and they can either have no experience or a little bit of experience or a lot. And we offer them certifications through CompTIA. CompTIA is the gold standard, like I said. And so we offer them certifications through CompTIA so that they can go to work. And so I was an apprentice, and then we realized that the IT fundamentals wasn't enough certification. So we kind of got with industry standard professionals and asked them, what exactly do we need for our apprentices to work? So we figured out that the Security Plus certification was exactly what we needed for our apprentices to go to work. So coming full circle, as Christy said, I started as an apprentice here. I worked as a manager somewhere else and then used my LinkedIn profile to say I wanted to work. And then my superiors here were like, hey, she's looking for work. And so they brought me back to actually work here. So
I didn't realize
great.
I didn't realize the subject of this was going to be about LinkedIn profiling for jobs, but it's great information. And I mean, really, it's incredibly a compelling argument for having that digital presence. So
absolutely.
Thank you, Kyauna. I appreciate that. And so Joe, I'll turn it to you. Tell us a little bit about kind of your breakthrough in tech, your background, key takeaways from securing employment.
Sure. Just a few years ago when I was in high school, I won't say how many years, just a few years ago, I actually was introduced to a summer job very similar to STL Youth Jobs. And the program got me a job for the summer at Merritt's. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Merritt's, it's a corporation in Fenton. So I grew up very close to that. And they had a summer youth program for young people who needed, a start out kind of internships and those types of things. And it went from working part-time in the library, working on spreadsheets, and the librarian saying, you seem to have a really natural talent here. Why don't I introduce you to the manager of the IT department? And she did, and that manager hired me, and I started working full-time at Merritt's in the IT department right out of high school. Actually, I was a full-time employee 1 week before I graduated with my high school diploma, so I was very happy about that. And then I continued to work at Merritt's as I was going through my undergraduate and started up my master's degree. So it was a really good company that had tuition reimbursement, and you know, it was kind of a very important springboard for, you know, me to get into the business. And you know, my brother actually kind of helped steer me a little bit, kind of like Kyauna was saying, some mentoring. Kind of gave me a little glimpse of the types of jobs that are available in the tech. And he pretty much just said, you know, this was a while ago, just a few years ago. He said, it's the type of career that you will most likely have, you know, your whole life. And so far it's been exactly that. And I've been, you know, very fortunate to have had very good positions and good mentors, and work for some really good managers as well.
Thanks, Joe, for that as well. It's always great to kind of hear how people have gotten to this point in their career with where they are, and I appreciate you connecting it back to your, you know, your first job as well too. So let's dive in a little bit, and I'm just going to push it back to Joe since we're already in conversation, and talk a little bit more directly about what you are doing currently in your jobs within the tech industry. You know, feel free to kind of tie in previous work history if that makes sense as well. But like, I would also say in layman's terms, for those of us who don't really understand the information technology industry, you know, some of the key roles that you have within your company. So Joe, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you. My current position is in the information technology group that handles what we call enterprise resource planning. So ERP is the simplest way to put it, the accounting, the finance, and the supply chain of a corporation. So Charter is a $48 billion company, and it's massive, and we have a lot of customers around the country. So what we do is we take the bills that each one of the 30 million customers plus have with us every month. We turn those bills into how we report the sales, the revenue on behalf of Charter. We have other things that we do, like we call them subscriber counts. So if you have ESPN, or if you have the Hallmark channel, or things that you have to pay for, then we would consider you to be a subscriber of those programs. And then we have to report the programmer counts and pay the fees to our programmers, which is one of the highest expenses that we have. So corporations have revenue, sales, they have expenses, programmer fees, employee fees or employee salaries. We also have network, you know, plant or network infrastructure to get everybody internet or cable TV or phone or mobile phone. All of those expenses take away from what you sell to equal profit. So what we do on the finance side is we support the people who take the numbers that we provide to the stock market, if you will, and all of our shareholders, and we help them do their job through systems. And my job in particular, portfolio management, is tied more to how we have these pretty major projects that we do inside of our systems. So my day-to-day is really working with project managers. I'm also responsible for our reporting and analytics. So that helps our managers across the entire enterprise do their job based on reporting and analytics that they get from our financial systems. So that's probably it in the simplest terms. Accountants are very detail oriented. So as a result, Everybody cares about what they report, especially the higher level folks, and it has to be correct. So there's not a lot of room for error, if you will. And it's a pretty important job within the corporation, the accounting job. So we support the accountants, the financial folks, and then the associated managers.
But it sounds like it's kind of a convergence between IT and finance. Has that been your experience working with Charter since you started, or is that kind of as you've climbed the ladder, so to speak, you've gotten different department designations, or has it always been finance?
No, that's a really good question. Charter's really good at sort of broadening people's horizons. A lot of what I've done in the past has been software development. So companies actually have to have software written for them that people, internal or external users, will have to actually use. So we write that software from scratch, or we buy it off the shelf. And an example is SAP. Some of you might know SAP is a corporation that's headquartered out of Germany. That's actually the accounting package that we have here at Charter. So either you write the software custom, you implement it, and in either case, there's always a pretty common theme of data. So the data that a company uses to operate on a daily basis, that's what goes into these systems and what makes them valuable to the users. So Charter, for instance, has over 100,000 employees. One of the systems that I used to support is called Panorama here. So my team actually developed Panorama, which is our internal website. So employees go to what we call an intranet, and they get communications. So Christy can appreciate it, right? So we worked with the communications team to develop the content, to frame it up in the right website, content management platform. We had all of the look and feel, cascading style sheets and JavaScript and all the coding that goes into it. So the diversity from, I would just say, IT types of positions at Charter has been very, very good for, just a broad experience. And when you work in IT, one thing that's constant is change. So you're doing different work. The people who you're helping with, their work is changing. You're automating their jobs and things like that. So it's pretty exciting, dynamic. You get a lot of new stuff, new content on a daily basis.
Thanks for that, Joe. Yeah,
new episode of your favorite series on Netflix or whatever, right? Every time it's new content.
Don't you mean your favorite series on cable TV?
Yes.
Sorry, that was sorry.
No, that's true. Yeah, we like the Stars series. Those are good as well.
Exactly. Kyauna, would you like, I'll repeat the question again. Tell us just a little bit more about your specific role with CyberUp, kind of maybe a little bit of the day-to-day. I say day-to-day very loosely because I know our day-to-days are usually varied.
Different.
So, yeah.
Sure. I am what is called a level up coach. My background is really in customer service. So I take that background mixed with a little bit of IT. I don't do as much IT work as probably as I should. But what we do here is we pretty much build apprentices for these companies. So what I do is onboard these apprentices and make them, they're pre-apprentices first while they're going through like a 6 to 8 month testing period to get them certified. And at that point, they become full apprentices where they can go and work for different companies. And so me being a level up coach, while they're pre-apprentices, we do what is called a professional development for them, which is to develop their resumes into a transitional resume, to give them the skills to, we take their skills and transition them into IT skills. And then we help them with their LinkedIn profiles. And then we also do mock interviews with them. And we set up mock interviews with industry professionals to maybe give them questions that they may not hear in a traditional interview. So IT professionals will give them questions that they will be asked in an IT professional interview. So, you know, how do you set up a Linux box? Things like that. Step-by-step things for an Excel spreadsheet, stuff like that. So those are things that they would ask you in a professional IT interview versus a customer service interview. Things that are on your resume, say if you've worked at McDonald's for 10 years, there are some things on that resume that can be transitioned into an IT resume. So we help you with things like that in your professional development. And we do that while you're testing for your certifications. Because we realize that people go to college, and maybe you've gone to college for 6 years, but a lot of these industry professionals would rather have hands-on experience versus what is on a piece of paper. So that's what we do in our program. And me being a level up coach, we try to develop you to be able to walk through the door as an entry-level cybersecurity associate.
I just muted you, Kyauna, because I was trying to unmute myself and then I muted you instead. So apologies for that. Well, thank you. One quick question, and then I've been told I need to keep moving the agenda forward, you know, because I don't move it forward. Is there an age threshold for the Level Up program? Is it 18 and up?
You have to be 18 and you have to be a high school graduate.
Okay,
that's it.
Great, and we can provide some more information for those that might be interested in learning a little bit more about that program as well. So, Christy, I'll turn it to you. Would you like to tell us a little bit about what your day-to-day looks like, as well as maybe tell us a little bit about access as well too?
Absolutely. So it's all a big circle here. So Daugherty Business Solutions is a technology consulting and business advisory firm. So we help Fortune 500 companies and other small businesses basically just to structure their business so that they're innovative, so that they have great business plans and able to implement those plans through technology. So Daugherty has a few different business lines where this kind of falls under. That includes data and analytics, business alignment, delivery leadership, and product and innovation. And all of that kind of ties together through our networking and business development to new clients and new logos. And as we meet these new clients and new logos, we actually keep collaborating and we keep getting them together so that we can all talk about industry trends and what's happening, what the needs are, and we call that our CIO Alliance. From that CIO Alliance, a conversation happened that there was just a need for employees. These jobs are not getting filled fast enough, and they have so many openings that they really just need to figure out how to get these openings filled.
Yes.
So we actually went into, from this conversation, went to the high schools and we said, well, look, if we get some training and development on the high school side or earlier, maybe we can help with filling these entry-level positions. And so that's how Access Point was born. We actually go to high schools and do high school seniors and give them training and development with St. Louis Community College, which is where I am right now, actually. We had training on site today. And we give them software engineering development and training, and they probably get around 12 credit hours to 30 credit hours, depending on what apprenticeship they're going into. And then they start with a summer internship that starts in August and goes through for 6 to 8 months, depending on the particular client. Throughout that process, as kind of how it relates to my role, I help to not only do the intake, so I go and I do the recruitment, I do the interviews, we kind of do like a quick assessment. So what we're looking for are students that have some type of coding experience. You don't have to be, sitting at home and writing code or anything like that, but pathway, lead the way, or anything like that in your high school, self-taught, something like that. We'll train you, but we just want to make sure that you have some type of exposure. So that it's not completely foreign to you, and then you have the ability to catch on quickly for a it's a sharp curve to be able to work in an entry-level position for these Fortune 500 companies. And so throughout that process, I help to assess if there are any barriers, if there's home issues, or if there's transportation, daycare assistance, financial need, anything like that. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to make sure that there's really no barrier that can't be resourced, that we can't make sure that you are successful in this program. And we basically handhold you from point A to point B and make sure you're successful and fully supported throughout the entire process. We pair you with 2 mentors who are Daugherty consultants out in the field at these client sites. May not be the same client, but doing the same type of work. And they're with you from the time that you start your curriculum training at St. Louis Community College, which is around 3 months, to the time you go to the apprenticeship, which is anywhere from 6 to 8 months. The opportunity is that you could be hired on full time at these clients at a salary anywhere from, who knows, $40,000, $50,000 a year. So that's a great opportunity for a lot of people to just change the landscape of their families and help support and change their community. So that's one of the pillars of Daugherty Business Solutions, is we want to serve the communities that we're in. And Daugherty has probably about 7 different regions that we're in across United States: Atlanta, Dallas, Columbus, New York. And this program is going to be duplicated across all of those markets. But right now we're just strictly focused in St. Louis.
And one quick question before I move on to the next question. You indicated you want any potential candidates for this to have some sort of coding experience awareness. What if somebody doesn't? Do you have a suggestion if somebody wants to kind of get the exposure before they would come to you, like for anybody on maybe on today that might be looking for that?
So our ideal student will have some type of coding experience, but we will not turn anyone away. Right now we have 2 tracks. We have a level 2 student who has anywhere from a year worth of coding experience. And then we have a level 1 student who basically is starting from scratch. We are actually giving them training in C# and JavaScript, and professional development. We're giving resume experience, opening bank accounts, all of that. It's full circle and full service. So we want to make sure that you are fully supported, that you walk in the door with no experience or with experience, that we make sure that you have all the skills needed to be successful in the job, and that if there's any barrier outside of that, at home, in school, we work very closely with the guidance counselors, with the superintendents, that we are immersed in the schools, that we're working with that to get you to graduation. If you are missing any credits, that we're working to adjust your schedule so that you can attend the classes and still meet all of your graduation requirements, and just be fully ready to start the job in the summer.
Thank you for that. And we certainly can provide everyone that's participating today with some additional information about any of these programs, if you would like. And I'm saying this to Camille specifically because she's the one that's doing all the herding today. So I'm actually going to just pause for just a second. I know we've all kind of gotten used to the Zoom presentation mode. Anybody has a question, if you want to like click to raise your hand and ask it live. I'll give it a minute before I kind of go into the last round of questions for the panel, but I do want to make sure that if anybody wanted to chime in that they can. So. All right, well, I have more questions, so I'll just keep going. That'll be fine with me. So I appreciate everyone kind of giving a little bit more about the mechanics of your job, how you got there. You know, we've talked a little bit about some industry related requirements, specifics. I have a better idea now about, you know, what each of you do and how that is, you know, factors into the industry as a whole. I mean, one of the things, you know, that we're always interested in knowing is what are some of the things that a piece of advice you would give to a young person who's looking to get into the tech industry specifically. and you know, any advice that you might have for them. So I'm going to start, I think, with Christy, because I don't know if I haven't started with Christy yet.
Not a problem. One of the first things that I would say is explore that. I think some of you are in high school or right out of high school, but explore just some of the community programs that are in your area. There's CyberUp, there's Empower, there's Access Point, there's all of these different programs. And honestly, I feel that a lot of us all work together. We're one big community program. So we're more than happy to resource to each other, refer to each other. That's a great starting point to just get your foot in the door, just get some knowledge, start building your skill set. Look in the community college. There's a lot of classes that are very low cost or could be covered under your financial aid, and you can honestly get a refund check, who knows? But just start to build your skill set and start from there. Network. You know, when you're in classes, let people know that you're interested in exploring that career, and go from there. It's a great place to start.
Joe, I'll kick it to you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'd like to ask or challenge the participants to think to themselves, are you the person in your home or that your friends go to if they have technology issue? You know, do you set the DVR program for, you know, your parents or your aunts, your uncles, your grandparents, or do you help people set up their mobile phone if they have an app that they're trying to struggle or get, you know, going? My advice is, if you have a natural technical ability, then find it, leverage it, figure out a way that you can make money at it, and then make a lot of money. The tech business is a really lucrative career option. It's probably going to be, you know, for emerging, you know, employees, it's going to be one of the best options that you can have for, like my brother told me, you know, many years ago, that it would be, you know, the type of career you could really follow your entire life. And it's true. And, you know, there's lots of opportunities. I mean, this is an amazing call. I had no idea that these types of services are available to you. So if you have the technical chops, I would just say find something you're really good at, take any one of the avenues that are presented to you, and then figure out how to excel. I think the opportunities are really, really good for anyone. And my last challenge for people on the call, if you really want to be on a phone call like this, then turn your video on and unmute your phone and see how much more you pay attention. I could tell you, since I'm on stage here, I'm not taking all my little instant messages and text messages that are coming through. I'm horrible at multitasking, but I'm paying a lot more attention now that I'm on the screen. So there's your challenge to me.
I think that's a really good piece of advice. I personally feel the same, and I'm not a multitasker either. So I want to be present as much as possible. Especially because I don't know anything about your industry, so I need to listen to what you're saying, because I'm the one asking the questions, right? So
yeah, technology is wonderful.
Thank you, Kyauna. How about you?
Best piece of advice, well, a couple of pieces of advice. To piggyback off of what Christy said, you don't always need college. Hands-on experience is very important in this industry. Sometimes you do need college, but sometimes you don't. A lot of our programs will get you set up to enter the workforce, making a lot of money without a college degree. And we do refer each other back and forth. Empower may stop you at age 24, but CyberUp, we have people in their 50s and 60s getting their certifications and making a lot of money. Also, the field of IT and cybersecurity is just an umbrella. There's so many fields that you can go into. You can go into forensics, finances, compliance. It's just, the world is wide open in this field. You can go into pretty much whatever you're interested in. That's just to piggyback off of Joe. I mean, whatever you seem to be interested in, there is a field within cybersecurity that will get you. If you want to hack people's stuff, there's ethical hacking. I mean, whatever you want to do, you can do it and make a lot of money at it. So whatever you want to do it and make a lot of money. So those are my pieces of advice.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because it's like the IT industry has evolved from being like a catch-all, you know, department to like an essential part of everyone's business. I mean, we don't have an IT person on staff, so we all end up doing it a little bit, other than me, because I'm terrible at it. But it's like flossing your teeth. It's a, you know, it's a part of the day-to-day of operations. It's essential, and it's a high demand, very, very lucrative field as well. So, well, I appreciate learning about all of your backgrounds, as well as a little bit more about not only the IT industry within a, you know, a private sector major corporation in St. Louis, but also getting a glimpse at some potential programs if anyone, you know, is interested in learning more. Again, Kyauna mentioned NPower as another organization. The STL Youth Jobs teams, we have access to information about all of this. So if you want to learn more, you know, we can connect you directly to folks like Kyauna and Christy and others who can talk to you a little bit about specifics about how you get into these programs, and how it fits into, you know, what you're currently doing and what you're currently working on. So the sky certainly is the limit on that. I mean, I will say also the evolution of the industry is going to be interesting over the next 5 to 10 to 20 years. So, you know, and to have the right skill set and the right mindset to want to be successful, I think you're going to have a lot of job security as well, if you're just committed to that also. So, so I think I'll wrap up with kind of, I like this question a lot. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to get to it, but again, if anyone else has questions and they want to jump in through the chat or raise your hand, let me know. But my last question is about, I want you to bare your soul here and tell us about maybe a mistake that you made. This is like a good interview question, which is also a good thing for everybody to be considering, right? Is good interview questions, even if it's, you know, being vulnerable about a situation. But considering all the professional development experiences you've had, whether directly with a supervisor in a group setting, in an educational setting, describe a time when you made a mistake and what advice you would give others on how to prevent or address that mistake in the future, and what you did to address that in your own life. So, Kyauna, you seem like you're ready. You're kind of nodding your head. I feel like you're ready for
Let's see. I've made quite a few mistakes in my professional path. I guess the worst mistake, being a little too cocky in interviews. I'm always, that's probably a worst mistake I've made. I'm always a little too cocky in my interviews. Some people are very timid in interviews. I'm an extrovert, so I'm extremely cocky in interviews. I always walk in like I own the place. I always walk in like I know everything, and I do not. So when it comes to when I had a very technical interview with an IT type of a job, I did not know anything. And he told me, tell him step by step how to do something very technical. And I was like, and I couldn't answer it. And I told him I could show you how to do it. And he was like, well, if you can show me how to do it, you can tell me how to do it. And I couldn't do it. And he was like, you're very nice. You have a very, lovely personality, but we can't secure our IT stuff with your personality. And it was very humbling. It was very humbling. And so don't be too cocky, specifically with technical interviews. You can't be too cocky, because if it was a customer service role, I would have nailed it, but not a technical role at all. 'Cause if you don't know your stuff, you will not get that job. So, very humbling experience.
I have a lot of follow-up. In the interest of time, I'm going to not respond, and I'll move on. That's a really, really good tip, though. Certainly. Joe, how about you?
Sure. So in my teenage years, we used to have a thing we called a floppy disk. And the simplest thing that I would attribute it to is kind of like a cell phone, right? Well, I went to pick up a floppy disk from one of my users that needed some work done on her disk. So I tried to wedge it into my pocket on my shirt, and I had to stop and blow my nose. So I went to the restroom. I reached over to grab the toilet paper to blow my nose. And if you can't see this, it kind of went like this, straight down into the toilet.
Wow.
So needless to say, the user was pretty mad that she didn't get her disk back. So my boss asked me if I would bring it to him so he could try to work on it. And I said, well, I'd rather not. It's pretty damaged. And he goes, oh, no, I can fix it. And Kyauna, we call that confidence. He was confident he could fix it. So I had to close the door, and I pulled a George Washington to him, and I said, I cannot tell a lie. Her disk was floating about 5 minutes ago. So he said, bring it to me. I'll fix it. So he fixed it. And then he proceeded to tell everyone in the team to grab a handkerchief or a Kleenex and to walk into my desk in this big room and pretend like they were all blowing their noses at the same time. So I was the butt end of the joke that day. And I had a good boss with a good sense of humor. Everybody makes mistakes. One of my friends said, if you aren't making mistakes, you're not doing enough. You got to keep pushing.
Mm-hmm.
Keep learning.
And some of the technical products do float, by the way.
That's a gem. That's a gem of a story, Joe. I like it. And being honest about when you do make mistakes, and being present to fix those situations. So, and I do know what a floppy disk is. So
I do as well.
It's a floating disk.
Yeah. Thank you. Christy, how about you?
Mine's really more on the emotional side, I guess. I'm kind of like, this particular situation is different. It's the opposite, I guess, of what Kyauna was saying. One of my biggest mistakes, and I would say throughout a good portion of my career, is having the skill set, having the ability to do it, but not being my own advocate, not speaking up, not saying, I would love the opportunity to pursue this, not saying some of the things. Like I'm always the type of person that I always have a million things going on in the background. I'm volunteering here. I'm taking these classes here, but I don't even tell anyone. And I just do it just because I want to just build my own skill set. I want to perfect, I guess, my own professional skills. And I feel that sometimes I've been lucky that Daugherty was that place where I had a manager that actually took the time to say, you're awfully quiet over there. You're like a fly in the wall, and you're always observing. And then when I ask you a question, you know the answer, but you don't say anything. Why don't you ever say anything? And I said, well, I kind of am a fly on the wall. I just like to observe. I like to take things in. And, I receive the content. I receive, everything that we're doing. But I'm just not an advocate for myself for whatever reason. And I feel like that is a skill that sometimes some people have to develop, is to be confident in your own skill set, be confident in your own ability, being able to speak out for yourself and say what it is that you want. And I feel like that's a skill set that I've definitely grown over the last 2 years here at Daugherty. And to bring it again, full circle, one of my favorite words, but when I first started at Daugherty, they didn't really know about my background in like case management and community outreach, and I was just really just supporting the client and operations side. And I was talking to that particular manager and another one of our manager that leads our community outreach, and he said, tell me about what tell me about your background. What have you been doing? And I gave him like this whole 20-year spiel, and he's like, what? Like, that's what we're trying to do, and we couldn't find anybody that could do that. We didn't know anybody that had the connections and all that. So we need that. And so it was able to put me into an avenue that I really wanted to do. And that's something that I had been looking for, to just really feel more fulfilled in my professional path. And sometimes it just takes opening your mouth. It takes speaking out into existence what it is that you want, so that people know and they can help. You're always going to have somebody that's going to be an ally for you. You're always going to have somebody that wants to see you move to the next level. But if they don't know what it is that you want, they're not going to know. So there's like that meme, they're not going to know, they're not going to know. So how would they know? You got to speak up for yourself. So yeah, that would be my advice. Speak up for yourself, be your own best advocate. Write it down so that you sometimes you got to practice. What is it that I want? What do I want to say? Say it into the mirror, whatever, positive affirmation, stuff like that. But yeah, that would be my advice.
Thanks, Christy.
Right.
No, that was great. It's really, I love the specific examples, and it's such good pieces of advice for all of us. So thank you guys so much for being willing to share a little bit about your backgrounds today. This is really hard for me to be silent, but I'm going to pause because I want, if anybody else has any last minute burning questions, jump in, chat, raise your hand.
Now's the time to not be shy, so feel free to unmute yourself as well and just jump in. I will say, while we wait for questions to come in, we had a poll planned, a survey follow-up for our participants as we develop this professional development series. And we're taking feedback on areas to improve and what to do for next year and as we continue this year. It's not working. Hillary and I are logged in from the same account, which disables that. Please, I'm going to be sending email follow-ups as well to all of our participants. Please respond to those emails if you have any feedback. We'd love to hear it. And also, again, thank you to all the presenters who have been phenomenal. I learned a lot too, so thank you.
I have a comment. It's not really a question, but I will say, right now we have a pilot of 25 students in Access Point. Next year, starting in January, we want 100. So we are actually recruiting now. If you're in your high school, go to your guidance counselor, tell them that you're interested. If you're recently graduated, please talk to Hillary and Camille, let us know. We're more than happy to start the interview process for you.
Thanks for that, Christy. And we will also be working with St. Louis Public Schools this coming year as well. And so there'll be a lot of connectivity between both of our organizations too. So keep that in mind if you're an SLPS high schooler.
Absolutely.
I have one more comment.
Nobody asked me about anything embarrassing on my part because I have a lot. So. Go ahead, Joe.
I noticed there was some chat going on with some music lyrics. So I was recalling Nelly. My wife and I really got into watching Nelly on Dances with the Stars last season. I don't know why, but he was really entertaining. And I've thought about the song that he has, the lyrics are something along the lines of "must be the money." So that's what I think of when I think about tech, right? Why did I get into it? What's the benefit of being it? I think it must be the money. And I think if people are interested in it, it's a really good outlet for your talent. So a lot of innovation, a lot of change. It's not all about money. I know, Hillary.
It is for some people, and that's it's definitely a motivation. We've all got to pay our bills. So
exactly.
Yeah, we had a question from Sydney, recent graduates within the last 5 years. Oh, okay. Christy is answering the question for me. Thank you. I was like, I don't know if I'm answering this or not. Thank you. So
So
recent,
sorry about that.
that's okay. So she means recent graduates within the last 5 years to Sydney or anybody else that was interested in knowing more about access and their eligibility. Is that enough of a pause, Camille? I can keep pausing, because I'm not very good at pausing, but.
I think we're good unless our panelists want to chime in with any final comments.
I wish everybody the very best. Have a good summer and enjoy your summer job. St. Louis youth jobs, well done in getting this crew together, and glad for you guys to be a support group for the organization.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for your support. Really appreciate it.
I second that. I would say make sure you keep names and numbers and stay in contact with everyone that you're meeting on the job site, that you're meeting through this program, your peers. These are lifelong connections. You never know who you're going to meet 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and have that connection and be able to create a bridge to something else. So
Yeah, I
always
agree
stay in
with
contact.
that. Networking is super important.
Well, you guys are a testament to networking and all of that being super important, and especially with, the way that you've come about getting into your own roles as well too. So, well, thanks everyone again. Really appreciate it. Again, we'll have more information about some of these programs as well as others to those that are interested. And next time I will not log in as Camille, so you can do the survey through here, but you'll hear from Camille soon. So thanks to everyone for joining. Thanks so much to the speakers.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me too.
Have a great one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.